Hi everybody, this is a video specific for the advanced exam and the reading part 6. Remember last week we did the use of English part 1, 2, 3 and 4 and also a reading part 5. So today we look at part 6 of the reading. At the same time, I hope and I think it's a video and material that will benefit everybody, all levels. So hopefully everybody can learn a little from this video. And specifically, I would give it extra advice about the reading from the advanced and how to identify the answer, okay? So if we look at the book, this is the PDF book on the left. It's a very good book from the advanced, and there are lots of exam samples in this book. So if we go to the text on page 82, I can introduce the section. So before we start, if I remind you, last week, this was part 5, Seeing the World. I don't know if you remember this part 5. I recorded this video also for last week. That was part 5. And previously part 4 was the use of English for the sentences. Part 3 was 2 sleeps per night. Part 2 was how technology, I think we also did that. And part 1 was dressing for success. That was the original first exercise, okay? But today, we go to part 6 of the use of English and the reading. Okay, so here we have the page, part 6. So we have one paragraph, part A, paragraph B, paragraph C, and paragraph D. So 4 paragraphs. And at the bottom, we have questions. We have 4 separate questions as well. Okay, so that's the typical structure, and it's necessary to put the appropriate paragraph into the appropriate number, question number. Okay. So let's read the instruction at the top. So the text is a little small, but I will zoom in to make it bigger for you so you can see. Okay, so let me move this. So here are the instructions for part 6. You are going to read 4 reviews of a book. So they are book reviews, okay, entitled Why Translation Matters. Okay, why it's important, why translation matters, and the italic. So the inclination of the text signifies the name of the title. So normally when you have inclination like this with the text, that represents the title of the book, okay? So for questions 37 to 40, choose from the reviews A to D. The reviews may be chosen more than once, and that's the key, okay? So this sentence, the answer may be chosen more than once if you want. For example, 47A, 48A if you want. So there's 2 possibilities. Or more if necessary, depending on the answer, okay? So you can see a little difficult, so it's the advanced level, and remember, in the exam, specifically your job, of course, is just to identify the answer. It's not necessary for you to understand everything. You don't have to understand everything. You're not expected to understand every word, but really your job and the ability is to focus on the correct answer and try to identify the correct answer, okay? So I recommend for you first to read the text yourself, okay? So this is page 1, and if you want to take a picture of the paragraphs and try to read it yourself, to pause the video, and then after you have tried to do the answers and the questions, you can watch the video to try and understand some tips and some key vocabulary, okay? So there's the 4 paragraphs, and finally the questions as well. So as I said, if you want to try this yourself, maybe that's a good idea first, okay? After you have tried reading yourself, now I will try to answer the questions myself, and I will try to help you with the approach and the technique to answer this question, okay? So the key, of course, is to understand the question first. Number 37, it's necessary to completely understand the question. Absolutely, very, very well, okay? 37, 38, 39, and 40. Personally, for me, reading is very, very difficult. And for native level, proficient level, still, todavía, it's very, very, very difficult and very hard. So I have a lot of sympathy for people trying their reading. It's so, so difficult, okay? So the first question is, which reviewer expresses a different opinion from reviewer A regarding how well the book is written? So regarding means in relation to how well the book is written. So first, we need to identify the opinion of reviewer A in relation to the quality of the book, okay, and quality of the writing in the book. That's the first job. It's necessary to identify the opinion in writer A in relation to the quality of the writing of the book for the review. So it's complicated. Also, after that, it's necessary to identify the contrast opinion. If it's writer B, writer C, or writer D has the different opinion, opposite opinion. So a little difficult, okay? So also here I have my notes, and here I want to show you the key vocabulary and the key to the answers. So this is page 1. Page 2, you can see it's incredible, lots of detail, and it's like a child has written on the page with a crayon, but I will try to explain a little. So for example, in yellow is the key for the answer for part 1. Yellow here is the key for the answer for part 1. The green is grammar and vocabulary and issues I want to talk about in the green. And the red circle is the answer for the second question, okay? So for example, in the question is different opinion from reviewer A. So we're looking for the opinion of the writer A in relation to the quality of the book. So if we look at the text, and here in yellow, you can see the key, okay? So they say, translation is a strange craft. Craft is like a skill or a talent, like a job or a vocation. It's a strange vocation, a strange job. Generally appreciated by writers, undervalued, so that's bajo valor, undervalued by publishers, trivialized by the academic world, and practically ignored by reviewers. And yet, where literature exists, translation exists, and it's a good thing that these issues should be explored. So the opinion here also in the circle, they say many other questions with a lyrical eloquence and that is graceful and inspiring. So here she answers these questions with a lyrical eloquence that is graceful and inspiring. So that's evidence here in the red circle, evidence of the beauty of the writing and her recognition that the writing is fantastic. So she praises the book. Okay, so reviewer A has a very good opinion about the writing. She thinks the writing is fantastic. Okay, the second paragraph, we have a phrasal verb here, let down the writer. So to let down is to disappoint, and I put here to let somebody down is to disappoint somebody. Okay, so if the taxi lets you down, the taxi does not arrive at the right time. If your friend lets you down, your friend does not help you at the moment you need. So to let you down is to disappoint. So for me, that's the key here for the answer, because it's very difficult, very, very hard vocabulary and very, very hard concept. But here she says the ploys of a lecturer let down the writer. Ploy is like a tactic or the technique. So what are your ploys, your techniques, or your tactics? Okay, so she said the tactics of a lecturer let down the writer, so disappoint the writer. So basically the quality of the writing is not very good. So this has a different opinion from writer A, who speaks about graceful, eloquence, inspiring, so very, very contrast. And for this reason, the answer is B. So B has a very different opinion from A. Okay, so very, very, very hard. And that's just one example of the question. The second question is shares reviewers B's view on whether a translation can be considered to be a new work in its own right. So an extremely advanced question, quite complicated. And for me, and for a lot of fluent native speakers, this exercise would be extremely challenging and extremely difficult. Okay, so first, whether has the significance of if. So shares the view, the vista, the opinion. On is sobre. So here the preposition on is sobre, about. Whether, if a translation can be considered to be a new work in its own right. Okay, so in its own right, in su proprio derecho. Okay, so very, very difficult. And I'll show you my notes just to help a little. So the yellow is for question 2. Okay, so the red is for question 1 and the yellow is for question 2. So translation is a strange craft, generally appreciated by writers, undervalued by publishers, trivialized by the academic world, and practically ignored by reviewers. And yet, where literature exists, translation exists, and it is a good thing that these issues should be explored. So this writer thinks that it is trivialized by the academic world, almost ignored. So it's negative. It has a negative sense here. In the second paragraph, the writer says, translation, for all that it seems, here, fail to be given the credit. Fail is fayar. Fail to be given the credit for they are due, and due is expected or deserved. So they have a similar opinion here. Okay. And then here, C, so the end product is like the final production, stands alone, is independent, is unique in its own right. So probably this vocabulary is more associated with the question stands alone in its own right, okay? Underappreciated and unacknowledged in the world of literature. So again, very negative and very a low opinion, okay? So very similar. Again, in the paragraph D, failing to give translator the respect they deserve. So the majority of people think that the translators don't have respect in the field, in the literature. Okay. So the answer for here, I'm going to show you first the answer so you're very clear and definite. The answer for 38 was C. And C in particular was here, stands alone, underappreciated and undervalued. I will give you the answers first because I think it's the most difficult thing to do for you to identify the correct answers. 39 is D and 40 is B. So 37B, 38C, 39D and 40B. So you can see B is possible 2 times. Okay, so I hope you can try to do this exercise yourself first. But now I want to explain the vocabulary. Okay, so in the first section, choose the preposition from is just a typical preposition. Choose from your options. You have 2 options or 3 options and you need to choose from. Okay. Entitled is related to the title of the book, but here it's with the prefix entitled, and we have another important context with entitled. For example, if you are entitled to residency, you are entitled to apply, you are entitled to receive the product. It means you have the right. Tienes derecho. So to be entitled is to have the right. And I'll put it here for my notes. To have the right. Okay. And sometimes it's negative in conversation. So a person feels entitled. They feel they deserve, or they deserve a job, or they, without working hard or without doing some action. So it is important to be entitled. It can be negative and it can be literal. Okay, but first I want to look at paragraph A. So you can see it's a little bit heavy, but I want to help a little just with some expressions and some vocabulary. Okay, so maybe I can move here to the left. Okay, and I'll try to explain a little clearly. I'll make my screen a bit smaller. Perfect. Okay. So the first one is a cloud looking glass. That's an extremely difficult expression. So cloud is nebuloso. Adjective is cloudy, nebuloso. Okay. So it's the context here of nebuloso, and looking glass is the object that you look through. So basically they say it's not very clear. Okay. So they say translation, it's not very clear reflection that will never mirror. So the mirror is the object when you look in for the makeup or in the morning, you have the mirror. That's the substantive, but also it's a verb, to mirror. Okay, so it's a substantive, a mirror, noun, but it's also a verb to mirror the situation, come out, reflect. Okay, this word is very key as well, merely, at the top right, merely. And it's very similar to only, very, very similar to only, probably more advanced than only. For example, I have merely 10 minutes. I have merely €2. I have merely, so when it's like only a small quantity or a limitation. And here they say merely like only a reflection. So it's not more, it's less. It's a bit difficult, but it is very, very common expression in English, merely. And you can see in the next sentence, a translator merely a sophisticated tool. So a tool is herramiento. So a tool is an herramiento. And here, I think I have the word reference as well if we need to translate on the right. So where's the word reference? Oh yeah, I'm going to make that smaller. So yeah, okay. So I'm looking for tool, the translation in Spanish, specifically here, herramiento, I think. Yeah, okay. So there you can see the herramiento, and here it is different. Okay, so a sophisticated herramiento to be replaced by. This is an example of the passive. So we have the auxiliary verb to be, the participle replaced, and by. So that's a perfect example of the passive. Remember the difference between the active and the passive. And at the advanced level, I think that's no problem. Other, again, is with plural. Another singular, another day, another question. But here, other for plural. Other days, other questions. Graceful is a very good adjective. So to have grace is the substantive. And to give grace is called dar gracia. And graceful is full of grace. Okay, lleno de gracia. And it's an adjective. Now, in the next section, they say examples of her solutions to knotty problems. So this is very proficient vocabulary. A knotty problem. So first, a knot, I think, is a nudo in Espanol. So a knot is a nudo. And it's possible in your hair. You can have knots in your hair. Okay, knots in your hair. It's possible when you get married, you tie the knot. That's an expression. When you get married, you tie the knot. Okay, to get married. And it's possible when you are laughing a lot, you're really, really laughing very strongly, you can have a knot in your stomach because you're laughing. You are in knots. That's very typical informal situation. You are in knots and probably of laughter. It's possible to say my stomach is in knots. That's possible when it's a funny situation, or also when it's a painful situation. For example, after your dinner and you have a lot of pain in your stomach, it's possible to say you have knots in your stomach, possible. Okay? So it's very important. And of course, with your shoe, you can tie knots as well. So in this case, it's a little creative. She says the adjective knotty problems. So basically, it's complicated problems. Very, very difficult problems, very complicated, okay? Her joy, it's like her pleasure. So her joy in discovery, her pleasure, placer. Okay, so her joy in discovery, her pleasure, and doing the best reasons for pursuing. So the verb to pursue is to follow, and it's a verb, but the substantive is important as well. So the verb is to pursue, and it's possible your dreams, to pursue your dreams, like to follow, basically a synonym to follow. And the substantive is important, the pursuit. Okay, the typical preposition is in pursuit. You are in pursuit of, okay, and it's typical with the police in the movies. The police chase the car, the police follow the car. So the police are in pursuit, and it's possible in hot pursuit. That's the context for the police chase, okay? So in hot pursuit of the stolen car, for example, okay? And here, pursuing her true vocation, following her true vocation, such. So this word is a little bit difficult. This is in relation to the previous sentence, and it's like this, almost like esta, this inner drive. So drive is passion, conducir for the car, but the drive for the person, motivation. So it's similar to motivation, and inner is related to inside, inner motivation. Okay, rightly. So here it's rightly. She rightly says, and it's like correctly. So right has two significance. It's possible derecha, and it's possible correcto. So you are right, estás correcto, okay? And correctamente. So rightly is correctamente aquí. Again, craft is like a job or a skill or an ability. For example, you're an electrician, that's your craft. You're a plumber, that's your craft. It's your job, it's your skill, okay? So in this paragraph, she says, or he says, translation is a skill and a talent, okay? Undervalued, very good vocabulary, okay? So the verb is to value here, to value somebody. or to value something. And then the negative is to undervalue. Similar to underappreciate, practically the same, to underappreciate, to undervalue. Very, very good vocabulary. And here, undervalued by publishers, trivialized, is to make something a little bit small and to make something not important. So to trivialize something is to make something very small or to make it not important, okay? The verb is to trivialize. Okay, so important vocabulary. And finally for this paragraph, we have yet. So yet normally is the negative in the present perfect. For todavía or aún in Espanol, it's negative, but the second significance is here, and the second significance is sin embargo, like however. So in this sentence, and yet, the significance is however, sin embargo. And that's very, very advanced, very comfortable, and very fluent, and very good, okay? So that's an example of the first paragraph. Now let's look at the second paragraph, just to explain again the vocabulary and the same. This expression, few and far between, a very common, comfortable expression for conversation. Few is poco, and far is lejos, and between is entre. Pero juntos, few and far between, represents that it's very difficult to get or very difficult to obtain something. For example, the ticket for the match, they are few and far between. They're very difficult to get. Very famous expression, very good for conversation, possible in movies, with friends, everything. So they are few and far between, a very limited quantity, very, very difficult to get, to obtain, okay? Here is an example of the passive. So we have the auxiliary verb to be in the past plus the participle give. That's a good example of the passive. So the book was originally given by somebody. The next point is very important because in this case it's singular, and in English a series is irregular singular siempre, always, okay? So on Netflix, on the television, you're watching a series with the S, and the typical mistake is to say a series. That's incorrect. So the correct way is a series, okay? Again, ploy is like tactic. What is your ploy? What is your tactic? It's from also the verb to deploy, which is NVR, almost to deploy. In the military, almost to send, okay? And here, a ploy is like a tactic. Quite advanced and very, very difficult. For sure, very, very difficult. And remember, let down is to disappoint. So if you let your friend down, you disappoint your friend. If the bus lets you down, the bus disappoints you. So very good phrasal verb and very important. Jargon is good vocabulary, like slang. Okay, so jargon is the specific vocabulary for a particular job or a particular area of English. So for example, mathematics has jargon, very technical vocabulary. Everything, the specific vocabulary for a specific topic is the jargon, okay? And here, on is the typical preposition for occasion. On my birthday, on the anniversary. So for a special occasion, we have the preposition on. Overcoming is also important, but first, on is connected to focus, and that's so important. Enfocar, on, enfocar in English is focus on siempre, okay? Focus on, focus on, focus on. The normal mistake and the typical error is focus in. That's the typical mistake and the typical error. So majority of the times it's focus on, focus on, focus on. Very, very important. Overcoming is superar. Right? Come is venir, over is the preposition. So if you have a problem, you need to get over the problem. But in this case, overcoming is superar in Espanol, to get over the problem, okay? Overcoming the challenges, retos. Throw up. So here the challenges that her craft throws up. So throws up is related to the challenges, the problems, and throw is tirar, and throw up, so appear or create. So the craft or the job creates or appears problems because of the craft, because of the job. It's a very good phrasal verb. That's the first significance, to create or to appear with problems. The second significance is more typical, to vomit. If the person is sick, they throw up, they vomit. So that's the second significance, okay? Vent is very, very good as well. A verb to vent is related to ventilation. So in the room, you have the ventilation, but it's the same for the person. If you're very frustrated and you're very angry and you're very annoyed, you want to vent. So you want to release the anger. So it's exactly the same, the person to vent. Okay? And I will write that here, to vent your anger, your frustration, and quite a good expression for sure. Very advanced, good vocabulary, okay? So here she vents her frustration. It's a typical context. On the reader, again, yet is exactly the same as sin embargo, de nuevo. It's however. Okay, in this case, at the beginning of a sentence or the beginning of a clause, it's however. But remember, the other context, the other significance is todavía or aún in the negative. Fail, F-A-I-L, fail, fallar, fail to be given, and credit, they are due. So again, this word is very important. You are due credit. That means you are expected credit. You deserve credit. You are due a holiday. You deserve a holiday. You're expecting a holiday, okay? Like deserve, merither, to be due. Related to the bus, if the bus is due in 5 minutes, the bus is expected in 5 minutes, okay? Also, it's possible overdue. For example, the bus is overdue. So we expected the bus 5 minutes ago, but now we're still waiting, overdue, okay? So that word is very important. Due is like expected. Overdue is demasiado, okay, overdue. And then the final expression that's very important in English is due to, debido a, because of, due to the problem, due to the situation, debido a, because of. Okay, and for a lady, when the lady is pregnant or the woman is pregnant, she is due in September, she is due in January, or the baby is due, expected, okay? Here, seems is parecer, a technical matter. So matter is asunto, an issue, a technical matter, a technical issue. Actually, de hecho. So again, at advanced level, I think you're clear between the different actually, currently, actualmente, in Espanol, in English is currently, and de hecho in Espanol is actually in English. So it's a very important difference, okay? Anything but, so that's a good expression as well. So are you happy? I am anything but happy. So I'm todo otra, pero no estoy feliz. I'm anything but happy. Okay? Here is a very simple structure, but very, very important and confusing sometimes, especially in the use of English. So is connected to that. So plus the adjective, that. Okay? Very important. So for example, I am so hungry. Tengo muchísimo fam. I am so hungry que, that I could eat 2 dinners. So I am so hungry that I could eat 2 dinners. So and that are very important and so connected. And pay attention to this structure in the future because it is typical for the use of English exercises. The outcome, so the verb to come, venir, and out, the preposition, typical for the meeting. You have a meeting and the answer or the comments or the result come out of the meeting. Okay, what's the solution? So basically the outcome is the result or the solution. Typical in football as well. You have a football match and the final result, the final solution is the outcome. Okay, gana or no gana, or per there. So the outcome is the result. Wholly, very good vocabulary. So normally we say the whole week, the whole year, the whole family, like total, all of the family, all of the week, all of the year. Wholly is totalmente, entonces it's the adverb wholly. Okay, so probably at advanced level you understand the majority of the context, and again your job in the exam is to identify the answer specifically, but today I just want to explain the vocabulary in particular and try to help. Okay, the next one, in order to, is very important, and basically it's para. So I go to the shop in order to buy some milk. I call my friend in order to see how they are. I go to Italy in order to visit Rome. It's para, for very, very advanced, very comfortable, very simple, but it's recommendable to try to use it, okay? Into is connected with translate. So the verb here is to translate, and the typical preposition is translate into. translate English into French, translate geography. So typical into, translate into, okay? And again, it's the same with into. This is very advanced phrasal verb and very difficult. So draw has a few meanings. Draw is dibujar, number one, to draw a picture. Number two, it's to extract. So if you have an infection, for example, in your hand, you have a little infection, you need to draw the infection out, extract the infection. The second or third example is the celebrity. The celebrity has the concert and she comes to Dublin and she draws the people, or she draws the crowd to attract. Also, the cajón is the drawer. In English, the drawer. Okay, so it is so important, and I'll put it here. The drawer is the cajón in Espanol. And here, draws upon is basically the same preposition as on. So you have the theory, and he draws upon the theory. So he extracts material from the theory. Okay, very comfortable English, very high level, very important, very fluent. To draw upon is like to extract. For example, experience. If you have a lot of experience and one day you draw upon your experience, utilizar, you use your experience. Rightly, again, is correctly. Okay, end product is the final production, the end product. So you have the process and the end product is the final result, the final product. Stands alone is independent. Also, outstanding is very important. Sobresaliente in Espanol is outstanding. So there's a phrasal verb to stand out, como destacar, and outstanding is sobresaliente. So the phrasal verb is to stand out, and adjective is outstanding. Good vocabulary for sure, and very good for sure. Okay, so here, well qualified. So in relation to your skill, your qualification is the substantive, adjective is qualified, and well qualified is muy, very qualified. Okay, so good vocabulary again. To speak on behalf of, that's a good expression, on behalf of. I am speaking on behalf of my friend. I am visiting you on behalf of my friend. En parte de, in Espanol, en parte de. Very advanced vocabulary, on behalf of. So if you want to represent your family, represent a group, you are speaking on behalf of the group. Okay, old word really, it's an old English word, behalf. You can see be como ser y half como mitad, pero it's on behalf of, on the parte de. Very good vocabulary. And here's the same context, to speak, the same context. Nevertheless, okay, so originally three different words, never, nunca, el, menos. Originally three words, nevertheless, pero sobre tiempo, combinar. Over time, you combine the three words to one, nevertheless, como sin embargo, or no obstante, okay? So nevertheless is a very good linker for your writing, for your speaking, and it's like however. To acknowledge is to recognize. So the verb is to acknowledge the situation, like to recognize the situation, to acknowledge your friend, to say hello to your friend, to acknowledge the problem, accept the problem, recognize the problem. And here it's a negative, unacknowledged in the adjective. Okay, beautifully crafted book. So craft is the job. Your craft is an engineer. Your craft is a painter, but also it's a verb. To craft is like to create. So in the house, you have the glass and you have the barro, the muck, and it's craft, to create. Okay, so craft book, beautifully created book. It's possible a person is very crafty in a negative situation. Very crafty person is a very maybe cynical person or very dangerous person, like a fox in Espanol, zorro, un poquito como un zorro. A very crafty person, very tactical. Okay. Here again we have draw. So in this case, remember, draw is dibujar y extraer. Extract, atraer también. So aquí es como atraer, to attract, to draw attention to. Very famous expression. So for example, I wear a yellow t-shirt and I draw attention to myself. I attract attention. Okay. Very good vocabulary. To address the problem is to tratar, to deal with the problem, to manage the problem, to take action in relation to the problem. Okay, the lay person is very common vocabulary as well. The lay person is the ordinary person, the normal person. That is the lay person. Very good vocabulary. And in Spanish, I'll get the translation for you here, so you are clear. Lay person. In Spanish, it is lego, non-expert, the normal person. Okay, well, the lay person, that's the specific vocabulary in the context. It's not an insult, it's just good vocabulary. And then the final paragraph here, we have based on. Again, that's the typical preposition with focus, focus on, based on, basado en, based on, focused on. So important to remember. The error and the mistake is focused in and based in. That's the majority of the time, that's the error. So the majority of the time, it's in English based on, focused on. Okay, in her field, in her area. So field is campo, pero también in the industry, it's possible the campo in the industry, the field. Has won, this is an example of the present perfect. So the auxiliary have in the present, and won is the verb from ganar, to win. Win, won, participle. Okay, so that's a present of an example of the present perfect. An award is a premio. So there's two words in English, an award and a reward. Okay, an award is after a competition, you receive an award, like a trophy. Okay, and it's a verb as well, to award. Pero reward is usually the thing or the benefit you receive after work. So in your house, if you clean the house and for the family, they give you a reward. They give you some money, for example. So typical for teenagers or for children, the child receives a reward for the effort and the job. Como compensar. So premiar and compensar, the difference between award and reward. And I will write it here. An award and a reward. Very interesting difference, okay? And serene, I think that's very similar in Spanish, if not serene, like very calm, very relaxed, very, very calm, really, okay? Failing, again, it's fallar. So fallar is the verb, fail. And for, normally with to, we have the infinitive to fail. And for, it's usually the ing, for eating, for going, for drinking, to eat, to joke, to eat, and to drink. Okay, so to is with the infinitive, and for is the gerundio normally. And here's an example. So deserve is the verb merecer, to deserve. Okay, merecer. Small-minded is good vocabulary. So the person is very small-minded. It's similar to narrow-minded, but different vocabulary. So small-minded is one possibility, and narrow. Narrow is estrecho. Okay, so narrow-minded and small-minded. Narrow-minded is one possibility, and the other possibility is small-minded. Negative, a little negative. And the opposite is maybe open-minded. Okay, so just interesting vocabulary for sure. And here we have small-minded, and overall is sobre todo. Okay, so in general, overall, you are very happy in Ireland, you're very happy in Italy, overall, sobre todo. Okay, very good vocabulary. Thus is formal and more advanced, and it means therefore, por lo tanto. Okay, so as a result, thus, it's very formal and very good word to remember. Engaged, here is the verb to engage. You remember, I think yesterday, to be engaged is when the novios, antes the boda, before the wedding, you are engaged. Okay, so it's this concept, you are engaged, and then you get married. But in relation to other contexts, for example, the toilet is engaged. So somebody is using the toilet, so it's engaged. So when you enter the toilets, you can see the sign engaged. The second possibility is the telephone. You call your friend and it's not possible to connect because your friend is talking already, engaged. So the phone is engaged. That's the second possibility. And here, it's possible with activity. So she's engaged with activity. Participating, like participating, okay? Indeed is the hecho. A writer herself is just emphasis. So she is a writer, yes, but she is a writer herself. It's just a little more emphasis that in the context of the sentence, okay? And then finally, your approach. There is an important verb to English, to approach. And let me make the text bigger so you can see. To approach is the verb. The context is typical for the aeroplane. When the aeroplane comes to the airport, there's the airport and the airplane approaches. Entonces es como venir. Okay, so to approach the airport, you have a problem and your approach, your attitude to the problem. What is your approach to the problem? What is your attitude? Okay, on the street, there's a person, you see a friend and you approach the person. You come to the person. So it's a very important verb. And here it's like his attitude or his approach is non-theoretical. Ranges is rango, so a range of music, a range of information. And here's the verb to range. So it's possible substantive and it's possible verb. Over the usual concerns. Again, over here has the significance of about, sobre in Espanol. So in English, it's possible on, over, and about. 3 words that have the same real significance. Raised is very important as well. So we have 2 verbs in English, to rise and to raise. Rise and to raise. So basically, it depends on the subject, the person. If it's a person, usually it's raise. For example, I raise, como levantar. I raise my hand. I lift my hand. I raise the book. I lift the book. It's very similar with children as well. I raise the child, como nurturar. Over a year, many years, I raise the child. So I'm the subject. The second verb, rise, usually the beginning of the sentence is maybe the object. For example, the sun, el sol. The sun rises at 6 o'clock. So levantar el sol. So basically the difference is if it's a person or not a person. It's possible the price for the first verb to rise. The price in the restaurant rises, increases. The temperature in the room, the temperature in the city rises, increases. So a very important difference. And here we have the concerns raised by the translation. And here, I suppose the translation is doing the action. The translation is increasing the questions or making the questions appear. Okay. Good vocabulary. Chiefly. Chief normally is the jefe or the boss. Pero chiefly is the adverb, like principally. Okay. Principalmente. Aquí at el fin. And then charming is encantado. Charming little book. So I'll just get the translation here. Charming book. And here in Spanish it is encantador, fascinante. Okay, so a charming book is like a fascinating book. A charming person is a fascinating person. And very good vocabulary. So that's the end of the exercise. So the structure again is similar. So you have 4 questions and your job is to match the appropriate question with the appropriate paragraph. Extremely difficult. Very, very difficult. And again, for native speakers, for proficient people, proficient speakers, this exercise will be very, very hard, extremely difficult. So I don't know, the advice is just to be familiar with the structure, be familiar with the technique, be familiar with what to expect, be aware of the time. You have a lot of pressure in relation to time in the exams. So be conscious of the time and be careful with managing your time in the exam, because on average, la media, on average, you have maybe 12 minutes, 11, 12 minutes to complete this, including the use of English. So the time is the most important thing. And again, it's not necessary to understand every word. You don't have to understand everything. You just have to identify the correct answer. So just have more experience, obtain more experience doing these exercises, and that's the best advice. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for today. I will continue with my videos for the different parts of the exam. That's last week we did the use of English 1, 2, 3 and 4. Also part 5 of the reading today is part 6 for the advanced. The next part for the advanced is part 7 of the reading and part 8 of the reading. In my opinion, personally, the reading is maybe the most problematic and the most difficult. So it's hard. It's definitely hard. There's no easy way. So be familiar with the technique, be familiar with the questions, and good luck. So I will try to create more videos as well. Everything is free for today. Thank you. And if you want to give a little tip or a donation, I will put the PayPal account here if you want. It's not an obligation. It's just an option if you want. If you're happy with everything, here is the document. That's the email address, my account. If you want €1, €2, whatever you want. And that's it. So I will continue with producing more material. Tomorrow I have a class at 11:15 in the morning, free. And if you have any questions, please let me know and put your comment on the box, and we will talk soon. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day, and talk to you soon. Bye bye.